Mystical greetings, Internet. This is Maxwell McGee, and it is my sincere pleasure to bring you guys our first look at Barkley 2, Quickly No Vengeant, the long-awaited sequel to Charles Barkley, Shut Up and Jam Guide. And to help me do that, I'm joined by a mystical cast of game developers. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Liam Raum, and I'm the producer.
I'm Eric Shoemaker. I'm the bad boy.
And I'm Brian Raum. I'm the good boy.
Brian's also going to be driving this demo, so we probably won't hear much out of him. But let's go ahead. Obviously, people who are familiar with the previous Barkley game will recognize that this game looks a little different and plays a little different as well.
Yeah, it's obviously the first one was a JRPG, and this guy is now a top-down shooter action RPG.
Was that sort of an idea that you guys always had from the beginning, or did you see it as being like an ongoing RPG series? Like, what prompted this change?
This has pretty much been the idea from the get-go. I mean, back in 2006, when we were sort of like brainstorming Barkley, we sort of came up with this game at the same time, and they're sort of like the continuation of the same game to us. So
let's go ahead and set up the area that we're seeing now. Is this sort of like something both players will find in sort of the beginning of the game?
yeah, these are the sewers of Tir na Nog, and the player has to traverse this place in order to escape from Tir na Nog. What he's doing right now, we're fighting a couple brain aliens who don't actually appear until later on in the game. This is a pre-alpha, so.
Maybe you guys have like cut together a couple of bits from other parts of the game and stuck them all together. And we are, ooh, okay, there we go, managing to narrowly escape death.
Yeah, so
Well, we definitely want the game to be difficult, as you have seen there, but not necessarily as messy. So there's going to be a little more thematic similarity to all the monsters that you see in any one given time.
and buy a new gun.
And now we're also getting to check out sort of this hub overworld. Is this something the player is going to be like constantly coming back to throughout the quest, or is this just one of many?
One of many. This one is where you start. This is going to be predominantly in the beginning of the game, but then later on there's other areas, safe zones, kind of hubs that you branch out and explore the world.
Yeah, Eric, I think I cut you off there at the end. You said you were about to purchase a gun from this gun merchant here.
Yeah, guns are actually contraband in Tir na Nog. So this is like a wandering gun salesman who just travels around hiding from the cops. And as you travel around and do things in the game, time passes and he hides in different places to escape from him.
So it kind of reminds me of like the merchant like in Resident Evil 4. Like he's kind of following you around in parallel to your quest.
Yeah, pretty much.
I also noticed when I got to play the game a little bit is that the game sort of has a Borderlands-esque gun dropping system where it's dropping all these guns. They have these crazy, ridiculous names and ridiculous abilities. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, you have multiple affixes either on the front end of the gun or the back. So you have the shocking, electrifying, poisoning, rotating. That affix modifies the gun, and then you have a material of the gun. Like right now, he's having a steel one, but there's a lead gun. It changes the sprite so you can kind of see what type of gun it is. And then on the back, it could be of the jock or of the anime, and all those do different things. Like these guys are homing; those bullets home in on guys, which is a really powerful one. And then these guns are also bred essentially together. In a system that's sort of like Borderlands meets Shin Megami Tensei. It's a fusing system that uses a lot of ideas of genetics and heredity. Certain affixes are dominant and recessive, and they are harder. Some are really good, but are harder to keep alive because the dominant, boring ones.
They'll like override them?
Override them, yeah. So sometimes you have to make sacrifices and have a gun that's particularly weak in some area in order to get the really interesting effect that you're trying to do. And down in the bottom, as that little bar appears, you'll have a toolbox of guns, of 5 or 6 guns that you'll be using, and then the rest of your guns are picked up into a random bag that you can just fire at random. And that's kind of like a last-ditch effort of survival.
And then something else I noticed is that little red bar on like the far left of the screen seems to go up and down, at least random to my eyes, but I'm sure there's a system behind it.
Yeah, each gun has a different way. We call that the periodic bar. I'm sure it'll change names eventually, but the idea of that is those type of the poisoning effect, we'll use that as an example, instead of having it be like a 10% chance of poisoning, you can use these certain guns to make a guaranteed poison shot. So if you have a poisoning shotgun, as long as you are using the shotgun appropriately for its for that periodic to go up, and you probably need to switch to a different gun to show how it rises. Like the sniper rifle simulates a heartbeat. It's kind of like a timer that goes up, and if you can time your shots perfectly, then
the meter will keep building up and up and up as you go.
Each one, some are just how much bullets you waste, some are how much bullets actually land on an enemy. There's all different kinds of them. So, and each gun type affects more than just range and rate of fire. It affects how you actually put status effects on enemies.
And then something else I'm sure that's a little more challenging to show in a quick demonstration like this, though, is the humor of the game. Obviously, the first Barkley, at least for me, I thought was super hilarious. You guys had super witty writing. And is that sort of, are you going to be bringing that same sort of style into this sequel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this game is just as much of a satire of weird role-playing games as Barkley 1 was. Yeah, I guess the scope of the game is expanded, but the humor is definitely the same, I think.
Something that I know may concern some fans who played the previous game is just that since you guys are releasing this and trying to maybe make a little bit of money off of it, you've had to maybe dial back some of the blatant copyright just stealing that permeated the first game.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But as the Tales of Games slogan goes, not for trend, not for corporate attitude, not for stoner, only for true doom murder heads. So we're not corporate at all. We're getting as close to breaking the rules as we possibly can without breaking them.
Yeah, I remember I saw in the Kickstarter that you guys put together that there was actually a prize tier to actually license the Space Jam soundtrack. But sadly, you guys did really well in your Kickstarter campaign, you didn't quite make that goal. But talk a little bit about the other. You guys managed to hit some pretty outrageous stretch goals.
Yeah, we originally asked for $35,000, and that was not to make the game that we're making now. A much more limited idea. The kind of ideas would be the same, but just the scope would never be made for 35. And as it started to get more and more ridiculous, we had no stretch goals in mind. We didn't think that we would ever get to 35 so quickly, and so we just started making stuff up. And we Brain City, or Nightmare City is what we called it originally, was one that it was just essentially doubling the size of the game, and that one was an easy one. But some of the other ones were just odd, and then we threw a Super Bowl commercial at the end to try and get, which we turned out $1.2 million only gets you like 6 seconds. We thought it would be like a minute-long commercial. Now it's like 6 seconds, which would have been great to just have the Tales of Games logo on for 6 seconds.
So on the topic of the Kickstarter campaign, there was like a pretty long stretch of time between when the first Barkley game came out and when you guys started the Kickstarter for the second game. Like, did you ever think that you would be coming back to make a sequel? Or basically what I'm asking is, like, how did this come about? Why did you guys decide that now should be the time to bring back the legend of Hoops Barkley?
Well, first off, that's quite an assumption. Hoops Barkley. This is X114 Jam 9.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Don't want to give anything away here.
Yeah, he's an amnesiac. He may or may not be Hoops Barkley. First off, like the idea.
Oh, good.
It's right there. This is called a cut.
Wait, yeah, no. When he goes into it. Okay, now start your answer.
What was the question?
The question was, why was now?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So first off, we developed a lot of skills in the 5 years. I never stopped working on games. I worked on about like 15 or 20 other games in the meantime. The other thing is that we really developed our ideas for the game in that time. I don't think we would have been able to make the game that we wanted to make, or that we're making now, immediately after Barkley 2, or the original Barkley. So I think that's a big part of it. The other part is that we unfortunately have lives now. Back when we made Barkley, we were like kids and like we were living in our parents' basement. Unfortunately, that's like the circumstance for us now. But like this money allows us to live in our parents' basements and make this game. So.
All right, team. Well, as we prepare to go out in a magnificent blaze of glory. Can you remind the listeners at home maybe when you guys are thinking about a release date and on what platforms?
Well, it's going to be, the platforms will be PC, Mac, and Linux. That was one of the stretch goals, was a Linux and a Mac. When we release is definitely not going to be in 2013 as we originally said in our Kickstarter because the game got huge, but probably sometime in 2014. Oh, and there he goes. 2014, late 2014.
And the post-cyber apocalypse rages on.